that was heavy. So Cherry is a crime drama that's based on the novel of the same name directed by the Russo Brothers. And in Cherry, we follow a character named Cherry, played by Tom Holland, who meets the love of his life, played by Ciara Bravo. However, due to something that happens between the two of them, he signs up to be a medic in the army and goes off to war. But when he comes back from that said war, he comes back with some pretty bad PTSD. So in order to help him combat that PTSD, he starts taking up opioids. And after he starts taking up opioids for quite some time, he develops a pretty bad addiction. And in order to continue paying for this addiction, he ends up starting to rob banks. Alrighty guys, so let's get into Cherry.
Excellent!
I was looking forward to Cherry for one primary reason, and no, that reason was not Tom Holland, even though, do not get me wrong, I love Tom Holland. But the main reason why I could not wait to see this movie was because it was directed by the Russo Brothers, who, if you ask me, they have made the best films of the MCU. I mean, Captain America the Winter Soldier, Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, to which, as you all know, is one of my favorite movies. So knowing they went from making some of the most iconic superhero films ever, at least in my eyes, to this movie, I couldn't wait. I will bring this up later on in my con, so do not worry, just wait later on. This is a movie that I feel like is gonna have mixed reactions all across the board. I feel like some people are gonna love this movie. I can see some people being very and I can see some people saying that this wasn't a particularly great film. Where do I stand? I thought this movie was freaking great. This movie is one roller coaster ride of a movie. Now in terms of performances, starting off with Tom freaking Holland. Wow, what a performance. I've always been a huge fan of Tom Holland, especially his portrayal of Spider-Man within the MCU. I can't wait to see him in Chaos Walking, and I can't wait to see him in other future projects. But here, my freaking god. I was actually talking to a buddy of mine, Real James, to which I'll link his channel below because he makes some great reviews. Seriously, love you, James. You're like a brother to me. I was talking to him earlier today, and he was saying that he wished this film was released later last year, like let's say in the October-November range, so that way it could have gotten some awards consideration, for especially for Tom Holland, because I'm telling you right now, I can say that this is an Oscar-worthy performance from Tom Holland. There are so many parts in this film to which he brings such gravity to this performance. The way that Tom Holland portrays this character who is not only addicted to opioids, but he's also trying to cope with the PTSD of dealing with the horrors of war. I mean, you see him going through these paths, through these trenches. There is one particular shot, and I just thought, oh my god. Another terrific performance was Ciara Bravo. Again, if I am butchering your name, I am so sorry. Again, like Tom Holland, terrific to say the least. And I loved her chemistry with Tom Holland so much. Like, I was watching them together and I just felt, yeah, if they were a couple, I believe it. There is a scene with her and Tom Holland. The way how they are just at one another's throats. My god. Another thing that I really liked, actually quite a bit, I should say for the most part, is how the story is told. Now, Cherry feels like it's 3 movies in one. I would say probably for the first maybe like 20-30 minutes, it feels like a love story. Second act is a war film. Third act, or at least I should say for like the final 45 minutes to an hour, is a drug movie. I feel like that the Russo Brothers, for the most part, seamlessly blended these 3 films together very well. The war things, my god, there was some shit in these parts that honestly, the last hour when it turns into a drug movie, and is not only riveting as can be, but it deals with some heavy stuff. And there are some things in this movie, I've been told that you should watch this movie in a certain mindset. I don't really think you have to be in a certain mindset, but you have to be ready for what you're about to see, because this movie does go into some really deep and heavy stuff regarding opioid addiction. And let me tell you, there was a scene in this movie in which how it was shot and how it was portrayed, I could not believe what was happening. When it came to them first meeting one another, I thought it was actually really sweet, even though there were some parts where I was just like, oh god. This movie, I will say right now, for about 90% of it, Cherry is one riveting, it's an investing drama, and then by the end, it will either kick your ass into depression by the end of it, or you'll have her jaw drop, depending on how you feel about this movie. Something else that I really liked about this movie, again, for the most part, I'll bring this up later on, is the directing by the Russo Brothers. They direct a very visceral movie, but really more than anything else, it feels like a visceral character study more than anything else. Just from how the Russo Brothers move the camera and how they stage those scenes, I was just like, oh my god. Speaking of the cinematography by Newton Thomas Sigel is absolutely gorgeous. From the love stories to the war sequences, and then moving on to the more drug movie and the later half. The way how they're able to separate each tone and look and feel of each act, I thought was absolutely brilliant. The music by Henry Jackman, this has a much different vibe to it, almost like an electronic vibe, at least that's what I got out of it. But their score, there was one part that, man, it hit me hard. Cherry is a movie that runs at almost about 2.5 hours. After that first 10 minutes, this movie didn't feel like 2.5 hours. And maybe at the most felt like an hour and 45 minutes. For the most part, this movie flies right by.
Well, that's just fucking great!
Like I had mentioned earlier, Cherry is a movie that I feel like is gonna have mixed reactions all across the board. I did say that I was in the group that really enjoyed it. In fact, I thought this was a great movie. However, I do feel like there's gonna be a lot of people that either think it's gonna be an M movie or that people will think it's gonna be a case of style over substance, to which I'll get into right now. I love the Russo Brothers. They have made some of the greatest superhero films out there with the latest Avengers films and the Captain America films. Their style in this movie felt very visceral. And to that point, there were a couple of times into which there was a scene in which how it played out, their style, I feel like almost negated in the way of telling a very impactful story. I will also say that I don't know why they did this, but when it came to the war sequences, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen the trailer, but in the war sequences, it shifts aspect ratios. Like, it goes from 16:9 to basically this format. I get that they wanted to have a different feel and tone for each part of the film because it does feel like 3 films in one. I can see why they're doing this as a stylistic choice, but at least in my eyes, it didn't really do anything in their favor. There were times when this movie has these really odd tonal shifts. Like, for example, there will be a really serious scene playing out, and then just out of nowhere, a joke comes out. Now, there were a couple of times I did get a giggle out of me. However, there were a couple of times where I just felt, well, that was out of place. In that first 10 minutes, I'm mentioning this again, it feels like it's definitely style over substance.
And here we go.
So overall, when it comes to Cherry, I thought this was a damn great flick. After that first 10 minutes, Cherry is a roller coaster ride of emotions. It goes into some deep stuff, it's heavy, and I thought for the most part, it was riveting. So all in all, guys, I'm gonna give Cherry a 4 out of 5 stars. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a movie that I feel like is gonna have mixed reactions. However, I'm on the side that thought it was a damn great flick. Alrighty guys, so comment down and let me know below. Are you guys looking forward to Cherry? Do you think it looks interesting? Have you seen it? What'd you think? Let me know below. If you guys want to follow me on social media, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. I'm also on Snapchat and Stardust, so if you guys want to follow me on all those social media platforms, all the links in the usernames are in the description below. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Cherry. If so, please hit that like button, also subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell whenever the latest video of mine goes live. If you guys want to see any of my previous 2 videos, please click either right there or there. And of course, until my next video or review, I will see you guys next time.